Red Team Go! Channel members, mount up! Welcome to the Amped Up Podcast, Tuesday, August 29th, 2023. We're going to be featuring the Raw review from last night, 8/28/23. Becky Lynch and the rookie to the main roster, Zoey Stark, absolutely crushed it in the main event. BC could not be more prouder than I am right now of both ladies. Oh, we're going to talk about it. L.A. Miz, yeah? L.A. Miz rocks it on the mic last night as L.A. Knight. It's hilarious. We're going to talk about it. More tributes for Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk. Drew McIntyre mixing it up with Ninja Tozawa and Flip Flops Flanagan, Scooter McGee, Matthew Riddle. What are they doing with Drew McIntyre? Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens once again fluttering around with the Judgment Day week after week after week, show after show after show, and last night no different. And it was announced that the foreseeable future is no different. We'll talk about it. Also a big botch. Tommaso Ciampa and big Bronson Reed, unfortunately finishing with a massive botch. And still no light at the end of the tunnel for Tommaso or Bronson. Looks like the company doesn't really know what to do with either. They throw them together, and that doesn't even end well. We'll talk about that as well. And a lot more from last night. We're also going to discuss the latest developments in the AEW CM Punk situation. If you guys don't know, another big backstage incident at a major AEW event this past weekend. We have the latest on that, suspensions being handed down, and something that Punk said during the incident, which has a lot of people talking. So that's an unfortunate set of circumstances that we have to discuss. This was another big event for AEW. We should be talking about it positively, and just like everything else, it gets overshadowed. Eventually, this company is going to need a break, and they're going to have to stop that. But we're going to talk about all this, man. There's a lot to get to. It's going to be a very long podcast, more than likely. Feel free to come in and out of it if you got to. Lock in those earbuds, grab your coffees, and just make sure you're fully amplified. And smash those ups, by the way. Let BC know that you're fully amplified by giving that like button a Macho Man elbow drop from the top rope. How about that? All right, that's it. I'm going to get a big swig of coffee, and we're going to get this rocking, man. First, we're going to do the cold open teaser, some side headlines we got to go over. Then we're going to get into the Raw review. Sound good? All right, grab your beverages. Let's rock this. Let's get amplified. And before we start this Raw review, August 28, 2023, a few side notes to last night's show. First and foremost, Jerry the King Lawler appeared in front of the live crowd last night. This was not for the TV audience, just for Memphis. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens brought Jerry the King Lawler out for a big hello. He got a big pop, and of course, you guys know how much this meant to Jerry Lawler. Not long ago, Lawler suffered a stroke. So it's so good to know that he was able to step out through that curtain in front of that crowd. Again, not for the TV audience, but for Memphis. And he was sporting a big gray beard, so Lawler is embracing older age, which is pretty cool. It was different to see him with that gray beard, but just to see him, period, because I did see some visuals on it, and it's very cool to know that he's doing so much better. So that happened during a commercial break last night. And Sethington Rollins, if you guys look at his World Championship, one of the side plates is paying the ultimate homage, respect, and tribute to Bray Wyatt. A Bray Wyatt Fiend template plate is on the side of that championship now. So one of the plates, one of the side plates on the World Championship is a Bray Wyatt Fiend tribute plate. So pretty cool. I don't know if that was WWE's idea. Maybe Sethington went to them. I don't know how long that's going to be on that championship. I would hope it's for the foreseeable future. But that was awesome when I found out about that. So hopefully that plate stays on that world championship. That is the ultimate homage, man, and respect and tribute. And real quick, before we get into the review, I got to flip over to the other side of the fence, which is AEW. You guys know in yesterday's podcast, we covered the AEW All-In pay-per-view, a big event from AEW that unfortunately was massively overshadowed by another big backstage incident involving, yet again, Philip CM Punk Brooks. New reports are saying that Philip Brooks has been suspended by AEW. Again, mind you. Muddying the waters for this week's All Out event, which is planned for Chicago. So a lot of gray area here. Do you hold off the suspension and let Punk show up in Chicago? AEW can't show up in Chicago without Punk, people are saying. But if you wait on the suspension, what are you really showing your locker room? If you're Tony Khan, you're showing that not only do I not have control, but CM Punk is actually running this. Because you can't look at Punk and say you're suspended, but after you fulfill this commitment in Chicago, thank you. That's showing everybody that this is literally Philip Brooks' company now. So if a suspension is going to be levied, and by the way, Jack Perry is suspended as well, guys, but the bigger name here is obviously CM Punk. If you're going to do it, then it has to be from the jump. That means that you have enough evidence that CM Punk was involved heavily in this. Whether he instigated it or not, that's another story, guys. Everybody just wants to say, well, Jack Perry started it. The bottom line is the common denominator is always Philip Brooks. So something has to give, right? Something has to change. And it starts with Tony Khan putting his boss pants on and being a boss. So if this suspension is going to be levied, guys, I don't care if it's Chicago. You have to finally show your locker room that you are the boss, and Tony Khan has to do this. If you're the biggest CM Punk fan, I'm sure you guys would understand that, right? Because the latest report also says, I think this side of the report was from Fightful, maybe even from directly Sean Ross Zapp, but I believe it was Fightful. I came across this right before we started recording the podcast today, that many people that were there during the incident said that Punk said, and I quote, "I hate this place," meaning AEW. I hate this place. And even if you're the biggest CM Punk fan, that shouldn't come as a shock to you that he does not like being in AEW. He told you that months ago during the Brawl Out media scrum. He literally said, and I quote, "I'm older, I'm injured, I'm miserable." He's never been happy in AEW. I truly believe that he is one of those people like Jim Ross. As much as they've had so many issues with WWE, they just know that that is still a well-oiled machine. As many times as we call it a sloppy shop, as many times as you get releases and cuts that make no sense the same day that you tell everyone you just recorded record revenue and then you just laid off 50 to 100 people. A bunch of people on social telling you that they don't like their creative and their booking, right? But they still know that the structure there was top-notch compared to what is going on in AEW, where Punk can stroll in, and he knew from day one he could pretty much run this company. All he's got to do is make sure that the EVPs, the Bucks and Omega, they know who's in charge, and it's now me, CM Punk. The problem was the EVPs didn't get the memo, and it became a war. And now here we are. Now it's just most of the locker room just wants Punk gone. Punk is getting sick and tired of the entire locker room, minus a couple of handfuls of people that Punk gets along with and gets along with Punk. But the majority of the locker room is just done with Punk. Punk is just done with AEW, and it's been that way for months. Nobody should be shocked. This podcast told you that. From day one, I never BS'd you guys. I never BS'd you. I told you it wasn't even shade to Punk. I was telling you that Punk is not happy there. No matter what is said going forward, AEW and CM Punk, it's a relationship that was destined for divorce from the jump. It just doesn't fit. Everybody wished it did. I totally understand that, right? When he debuted, everybody thought this is it. It was clear that Tony Khan doesn't know what to really do with a CM Punk. And Punk didn't have the star power he did many years before. And that's why you see, whether it's a Saturday night against college football, you could put him on Monday night against the NFL. You could put him on a Wednesday night against not much of anything. Put him right on Dynamite. And it showed you what happens in the ratings. He doesn't really pull. There's no drastic change in the ratings. And that's why on Saturday nights, they can barely pull 500,000 viewers. And what do you think's going to happen when college football is there and there's big fights for the UFC preliminaries? And what happens if WWE is running a Saturday night pay-per-view like this Saturday night with all of that other competition? Don't be shocked if AEW is in the 300,000s. They were in the 300,000s against SummerSlam alone. No college football, none of that. So I truly believe that Punk is doing what Hulk Hogan did many years ago when he knew the writing was on the wall. WCW was going out of business. And what did Hulk Hogan do? He found ways, loopholes to get out of that contract, and he walked away. Eric Bischoff says well into the 7 figures. He cashed out, and he left WCW high and dry. Hogan went into business for himself. I remember Punk at the Brawl Out media scrum. He said, "I'm trying to run a business here." And you have people that couldn't even manage a Target acting like they're running it. You're trying to run a business? I thought Tony Khan was trying to run a business. But no, that was very telling, wasn't it? Punk looks at this and he knows. He sees it like a circus. And he's going to milk it dry when it's all said and done. And that's very smart on his behalf. Not the most honorable thing, but it's very smart. Cash in. All this controversy, right? The biggest stages for AEW. Whether it's a double or nothing or an all-in event or something big that is happening in a positive way for the company, it is always overshadowed by a CM Punk backstage incident. He makes sure that all the headlines are right on Phillip Brooks. It's very smart. Doesn't do anything for AEW. Hurts AEW. But man, if controversy does create cash, Phillip Brooks is going to cash in one day. And Tony Khan will have to pay him all that money. Punk doesn't care if he gets fired or anything. Punk is going to cash in on that mega payday. And if he doesn't got to work for it, dude, even better. I hate this place. Now, I'm sure there's some people going to come out and try to refute that. That's not what I was there. I never heard that. Well, guess what? Other people absolutely heard it. They heard it to the point where they said, dude, this is exactly what went down. I hate this place. And I believe it because he told you he hates this place. Months ago, he said he was miserable there. Do you think things just got magically better? He came back and they all shook hands and they're all going to do business as grown adults? No. Ain't going to get better. Some people say it's all storyline, BC. What's the storyline? All in happens, and the biggest headlines is about a backstage incident making your company look like an absolute minor league amateur hour. And your biggest storyline is Jack Perry? An incident with CM Punk and Jack Perry. That's the best you got coming out of All In? That's a horrible work if this was a work. No, it's bigger, BC. It's Punk versus the entire locker room. You could have done that a lot better. Hangman Page, when Punk was calling out Hangman and Page wasn't saying a word, they kept him in catering. And Page has never been the same since. The momentum for Hangman Page has absolutely died out. The way the company looks, Christopher Daniels is being sent home, your head of talent relations. What does that do for your company? You're sending home Ryan Nemeth and getting into fights with Jack Perry. How is that making Punk look good, much less the company? What work is being worked? If that was a work, AEW is working themselves into a pit of misery. Nobody wins here. Anyway, guys, that's some new layers to the story I found out just before we started recording. I'll find out more. But as of now, we're hearing that suspensions have either been levied. I heard they were already handed down. But with Chicago, you don't know if they're going to pull that back and wait till after Chicago. But I'm hearing that suspensions are levied down to Punk and Perry. And Punk has stated yet again that he hates this place. He hates AEW. He's just not happy there. Some relationships are destined for divorce. This is one of those. AEW and CM Punk, they just don't work well together. Peanut butter and jelly, it works. You put peanut butter with mayonnaise? Not so much. Some people will like it, as they do, Punk and AEW. The majority is going to say, doesn't work, no thank you. And that's what the ratings show you on Saturday night. The fact that they can't really hit 500,000-600,000 consistently. If they're just up against SummerSlam, they're at 300,000. That's without college football and big prelim fights for UFC. What's going to happen when you have big prelim fights, a college football game, and a WWE pay-per-view? Are they going to dip to 250,000? Because the network pays them weekly for the production fees, don't forget. So you could put on Law and Order or Blue Bloods, save yourself the production fees that are weekly on top of what you're already paying them for the weekly show. You pay a production fee as the network. You could be saving all that money and pull in 100,000+ viewers, still get the same advertisers. It's business. So it's clear, man, that this is just a relationship that not even the fans are really down with anymore. Punk and AEW, unfortunately, has just been a massive bust, a massive failure. At what point does Tony Khan just say, dude, this isn't worth it? I guess it's like a Yankee situation. We suck so badly this year, right? We have a lot of players that we paid a lot of money for. Not necessarily we. I didn't pay them anything, but the Yankees did. The front office. They paid a lot of these players a lot of money. And none of them have been performing. Judge, but he's been out a couple months as well. Garrett Cole, good. But a lot of our players have just not produced. And it's one of those things where do we just cut them and take a massive hit financially, or do we bring them back next year because we paid all this freaking money? You're damn right you're going to play. But isn't that hurting the team? And so far, what we're hearing as Yankees fans is we're going to bring them all back next year because it's too much money to leave on the table. So it looks like we're going to have the same shitty team next year. It's kind of like the same deal here. You paid Punk all this money. Do you cut ties and lose all that money and you get nothing in return? Or do you have him go out on the field and play, but it's actually just going to hurt you in the long run? Damn, decisions, what it means to be a boss in professional wrestling or in any sport. That's the side news that I got for you guys, man. A lot that I'll be keeping an eye on for sure. Big swig of coffee, and then we got to talk about this review for Raw 8/28/23. Let me get that big swig of coffee, and let's do this, man. Monday Night Raw 8/28/23. We start this show, the go-home show to Payback, the same way we ended last week's show. And every show beforehand, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and the Judgment Day. Dreaded redundancy and miserable boredom. This was Sami Zayn versus Damian Priest one-on-one. And before the match, they announced that Sami and KO will take on Priest and Balor at Payback this Saturday night. Now, that's the same match we've been getting for months. Now we get it again at a premium live event pay-per-view. So you have to pay money to see this tag team match that we've already seen 99 times before. In any variation, right? Sami and KO versus Damian and Dominic. Or Damian and Balor. Or maybe Balor and Dominic. Maybe it's a 6-man tag. All of Judgment Day, and you throw in a Cody Rhodes. Or maybe you take out Cody, you throw in a Sethington. Maybe it's Flip-Flops Flanagan, Fingers Painted Paxton, Scooter McGee, Matthew Riddle. Doesn't matter. We've been seeing this for months, to the point where they literally, later in the show, KO and Sami were backstage, and they had to cut a promo talking about how they've been doing this for months, and even they're sick and tired of it. Just imagine the fans. And now they put this at a premium live event pay-per-view. You got to pay the little $10, $5, $15, but whatever it is for your little subscription service, so you can see the same match that you've seen 99 times before, just so you can see it for the 100th time. The same match we've been getting for months. You got to realize that having the same people wrestle each other every single week for months, it's not a storyline. It's simply not interesting. Right? There's a reason people left the show in droves last week during the 6-man tag, and that's sad because that featured one of their top stars, Cody Rhodes. And going into the Elimination Chamber this year, into February, right before WrestleMania, Sami Zayn was on top of the world. KO has always been respected. So you have all three of those individuals taking on Judgment Day last week. And that was one of the worst main event quarter hours of all time. And the show as a whole pulled a 1.5 sem-odd. They were in the 1.5s last week for Raw in the rating, and they weren't even taking on regular season Monday Night Football. There's a reason. The fans said, that's it. We can't take any more Judgment Day versus Cody or Sami and KO. It's done. And it's not a storyline. What in this whole supposed feud that's been going on for months, what are you truly going to remember? That's what I always ask. What are you really going to remember? Because that's when you know you have an actual storyline. That's when you know there's a feud that is being done properly. Even if you roll your eyes at it, think it's completely out of the box, it's so wild, you can't believe it happened, you still remember it. You remember it, and it was still just another notch, another spoke in the wheel that caused you to want to need to watch the payoff at the pay-per-view. I don't care if it was the Ultimate Warrior in his feud with Jake the Snake Roberts and The Undertaker. During that feud, Ultimate Warrior was being stuffed into caskets. He was in a pit, a room full of cobras and snakes. I remember that. I don't care if it's the Big Boss Man sending the Mountie to an actual jail. Or the Big Show on top of a casket while the Big Boss Man rides off, casket intact. It could be Stone Cold Steve Austin in a feud with the Authority, filling Vince's Corvette with the cement, or giving the beer bash, or running his limousine over with a monster truck. Memories and moments you remember in that whole Authority feud. Rock versus Austin. It wasn't just Rock Austin matches. That's what we remember. No, we remember the IC Championship being tossed over the bridge and into the ocean. You guys remember that? And I don't even care if it's Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair battling at WrestleMania. Who was with them? Becky Lynch? And they're all getting arrested at the same time, yet still brawling. Ronda tries to get into a cop car while handcuffed, drives into Charlotte's cop car, where she was already arrested. Charlotte's able to escape, beating up Ronda while she's still handcuffed in the other police car. I don't care how wild or ludicrous it sounds. I remember those moments. It at least says, oh yeah, that was a story. That was a feud. They were all over the place. They got creative. They thought it through. No matter if you liked it or not, that's in the eye of the beholder. But give us something. Week after week, month after month, Judgment Day versus Sami and KO in any variation. This company has to realize a storyline is not just throwing individuals in there every single week and having them fight and just switching out a puzzle piece here and there. You're going to eventually have to get creative. You're going to eventually have to create a real story and a real feud with these individuals and these characters. For Sami Zayn, you gotta feel so bad. He goes on top of the world in the Bloodline story. The best wrestling storyline we've had in years. That's not saying much for WWE. The last 10 years up front, the Bloodline easily is the best storyline. The past decade in this company. And Sami Zayn was a vital part of that. And after that, they had nothing. They stuff him over at WrestleMania. He got the main event. That's the good news. The bad news, he got a tag team championship. And that's basically a curse at this point. You get a tag team title and a non-existent division You're basically being plagued into irrelevancy. That is the ticket of doom when they place a championship like that on you. And sure enough, just like the ladies' tag team division, which is non-existent, so is the men's. And Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, every single week since WrestleMania, have nothing. They're in Monday Night Raw main events, which pulls in some of the worst viewership on Monday night. The show as a whole doesn't even bring in a good number. The last segment, nobody wants to see these redundant tag matches. That may seem like a harsh critique, but it needs to be said because enough. And here we are. At least they didn't end the show with it. They started it with more of the same. This time it's more one-on-one. Sami versus Damian. Priest pins Sami with an assist from J.D. McDonuts. Post-match, Priest is pissed off because he feels he didn't need McDonuts' help. And then Owens and Zayn just tear McDonuts apart. So McDonuts turned into McDonuts. You know what McDonuts are? Donuts are those small little donuts you get in the pre-packages from like Hostess or Entenmann's. Maybe Little Debbie. J.D. McDonuts turned into J.D. McDonuts because he was torn apart by Owens and Zayn. Okay. I mean, I guess that's the only semblance of a decent part of the story, right? J.D. McDonuts. How is he going to insert himself into the Judgment Day, right? Is it going to be Damian that gets Das Boot? Or is McDonuts and Damian going to end up aligning? And Balor, even though he's the good buddy of McDonuts, is he going to get Das Boot, right? J.D. McDonuts turns on his good buddy Balor. I think that would be a better idea. I guess I'm trying here, guy. That's the only semblance of something we may be interested in. But when you have McDonuts just getting his ass whooped like he did last night, is anybody going to care when we finally get the payoff? That's the question. Anyway, that's how we start this show, man. More Judgment Day, Sami, and KO. And again, the light at the end of the tunnel here. The light at the end of the tunnel is that later in the show, they cut a promo, Sami and KO. And they literally said, we hear you. We're with the fans every week, month after month. We can't do this anymore. We're done. We're done. We don't even like to show up to work knowing we got to do this, is what they're basically telling us. And that's good. At least the company realizes this has to stop. Enough people voiced, I think what happened last week, right? It wasn't just the BCs of the wrestling community that was just done with it. Right, because that's what you get a lot. Right? Oh, BC's so negative. Well, no, what you saw last week in the ratings is damn. A shit ton of people said, no, thank you. We are not spending the last half an hour of this show watching this same regurgitated BS. And they walked out of the show, man. They took off. It was more than preseason football. I mean, if you saw these numbers, it was bad. 1.5 as a total. And that's not regular season even. But the quarter hours, man, were they telling. What you saw last week is finally the wrestling community said, dude, we can't do this much more, man. We can't see the same. I mean, we like these individuals. We do. Balor, Dominic, Damian, KO, Sami, Cody. But damn, can we get some creativity? Just a little bit of creativity? You can't tell me that all these months and the best thing we have to come out of it is J.D. McDonuts and how he's going to insert himself into the Judgment Day. We gotta do better than that. We gotta. Moving on. After a swig of coffee, of course. Hold on. BC's got to get his Dunkin' so we remain amplified. Now, poor Drew Snoozentire, man. Drew McIntyre. We like the dude. It's sad that we got to call him Snoozentire, but that's the way he's booked. Snoozentire. He's backstage with Ninja Tozawa and Flip Flops Flanagan. Scooter McGee Fingers painted Paxton. You know, Matt Riddle and his neon Trinity Fatu Naomi fingernails all painted up neon green. And he's got his You know, he wants Drew to be his new stepdaddy because Randy isn't there anymore. He took off to go get milk like his original father. He already had the daddy issues. Then fucking Randy took off and didn't come back. So his original dad went off to get milk, didn't come back. Fucking Randy went off to get eggs, he didn't come back. And now Drew's going to be the new stepdaddy. And if Drew goes out to get ice cream, oh man, Riddle's done for. Fucking Riddle, man. Riddle is back there. And Ninja Tozawa, I don't know how. The segment started with Ninja Tozawa. He's like, oh, hi, Drew. And then he takes, I don't know what he said. Ninja Tozawa was just there. So right there, you just feel bad for Drew. And then insert Scooter McGee. Flip Flops Flanagan comes in. And he's holding up a picture or something of Drew McIntyre with trunks. And in the front of the trunks, it says, bro. And he's like, bro, I've been holding this everywhere, man. And he's like, you know, he's holding up the sign. And all you can see is just his neon green fingernails painted. I mean, you don't even see the females. Like, it was crazy, man. I'm like, what are you doing? Can't even focus on the fucking pic. Much less, why are you running around with a picture of Drew McIntyre in his tights that say bro? Weird shit with this dude, Matt Riddle. And he fucking, so he's holding that up and he's begging Drew to just be in a tag team. And you can't help but feel bad for Drew McIntyre. This is a guy who was a champion. He was in the main event of WrestleMania just a few years ago, winning a championship, the world title at WrestleMania. And on top of that, he goes away after this year's Mania, playing around in the mid-card for the mid-card title. No offense to Gunther, but it's the mid-card title. And you know, all the speculation, you know, is he going to go to AEW? Will he come back? And when he comes back, man, they're going to give him a rocket, right? He might come back heel. Then we're hearing the company is actually, they're contemplating bringing him back heel. That was really good to hear that the company was actually thinking of that. And then the dude comes back, the same pit of irrelevancy. This dude comes back right in the same feud he left with. He comes right back with Gunther in the IC title. In fact, he doesn't even win it, nor should he have been the one to beat Gunther. No way. But he comes back in the same feud, going for the same title. He loses it, and then they just pit him as the bootleg Randy Orton. We're going to try to recreate RK Bro. We're going to have Mick Griddle. Is that what they call it? McRiddle, not McGriddle. That's a McDonald's sandwich, I believe. McRiddle, I think they're calling their name. McRiddle. And there's going to be people that laugh. Yeah, it's hilarious. Yes. I'm so glad Drew McIntyre is being booked like this. Just like Randy Orton. For some laughs, we had RK Bro and Randy Orton and Matt Riddle doing some 420 jokes and joking backstage and getting some laughs in the crowd. Oh, yeah, that's the best way to use the Viper. The Legend Killer. Randy Orton. No, that's not the best way to use this dude. And he still ended up with a fucking serious back injury. And he's out. You best hope he comes back. I hope that's not the last of Randy Orton's career, man. Screwing around with in jokes with Matt Riddle. I want to see old school Randy Orton come back. I want to see Randy Orton come back and take out Matt Riddle. But now what we're doing is just a bootleg version, right? We're going to do Mick Riddle, and Drew McIntyre is going to be the sideshow comedy act for Matt Riddle. I see no problem with it, Basie. That's good for you. I see a major issue with it. This is Drew McIntyre, man. How do you not take him seriously? How is he not a big-time player? He should be. When he won that world title, it was time to give him the proper booking. Instead, they gave him the title and they didn't know what to do with him. A, and or B, they didn't care about what to do with him. And you saw that in his booking. Nothing happened with this dude. Nothing at all. Won the title, and you could have placed him literally on a fucking milk carton afterwards. You don't remember any of that title reign. And Levesque McMahon, it's clear he doesn't know what to do with somebody like Drew. We'll throw you over there. Be a placement holder. Once we get Randy back, maybe we'll do something with you guys. Who knows? And they literally have Drew in there like he's in a real beef and problem and issues with Viking Raiders. That's what Drew came back after that long hiatus for? To fuck around with Riddle and the Viking Raiders? See, that's what BC is saying. Is this the best we could be utilizing these talents? Is this the most creativity we should be getting? And if the answer is no, then that's the problem, because this is a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate with many primetime television shows throughout the week. There is no excuses and no reasoning why we're not getting the best creativity, why we're not getting the best out of these characters, why these individuals are not getting the most proper and best badass booking imaginable. That's the issue. Can we and should we be doing and getting better? The answer is yes. And later on, you'd actually see, I think it was to end hour number 1, New Day versus the Vikings. Snooze and Tyre and Riddle were ringside. Flip Flops Flanagan is literally carrying around that photo of Drew Mac in his trunks that says bro. Just some weird stuff, dude. Anyway, the Vikings defeat the New Day. A double powerbomb puts Kofi Kingston away. What's the story here, right? It's the same thing you could say about Judgment Day and KO and Owens, aside from McDonuts trying to get his way into Judgment Day. KO and Sammy, every week, every month, what's the deal? What's the story? There is none. They just fight each other every week. What's the story here with the New Day and the Vikings and Snooze and Tyre and Riddle? What's the story? There is no story. It's a feud manufactured from nothing. It's a feud manufactured from nothing. They just sent the individuals out several weeks ago, said just fight, have a match, fight some more afterwards, and then next week we're going to do the same thing, and then the next week we'll do the same thing, and we'll just move around the puzzle pieces, and that's the storyline. We're not going to get creative. We're not going to actually do anything interesting. Nothing memorable. There's not going to be nobody's going through a barber shop window. Nobody's going to be getting fucking ran over in the backstage area or in the parking lot. No interesting, fun locker room brawl. No memorable promos. Nothing interesting. You're just going to go out there and just act like you're just in a feud. You're just going to fight every week. And then you wonder why many fans are just not interested in this. It's not fun. 3-hour prime time. 3 hours to hold your audience's attention. 3 hours of primetime television, all the way for most people to 11 p.m. at night. And this is what we're supposed to care about. That was the end of hour number 1, but right before that match, this is what I want to talk about, all right? That's the Vikings and the New Day shit. There's no feud here. And next week, by the way, Drew and Riddle are going to take on the Vikings again, and it's going to be a tornado tag match. Well, shit. I can't wait. Anyway, this was good. First hour, man. L.A. Knight. Yeah. His music hits, right? L.A. Knight's music. Now, I just wasn't expecting it. I know. There is no brand split, BC. Well, BC tells you that. There's no brand split. It's absolutely... It was DOA. The second they were doing the draft, you knew they were not going to go through with this brand split. It was not going to be a real thing, right? And then Paul Heyman shows up with the Visitor's Pass. Shotzi shows up on Raw to tag team with Raquel, and it was off the rails at that point. LA Knight and Miz are going to be in a match at Payback. There's just one problem. Each one of them are on a different brand, so how do you even do that? Now Cody Rhodes is going to be on the Grayson Waller effect at Payback, so that's either going to set up a match there, or Judgment Day will attack Cody, and we'll do that all the way to the holidays. So there is no brand split. I get it. But still, hearing LA Knight's theme on Monday Night Raw, I needed that jolt, because at this point already in hour number 1, I was already it was dreaded redundancy and miserable boredom at that point. And I just needed something just to pop BC. Just get me to go, yeah, and I hear LA Knight's theme, and here we go. This is good. And he comes out, and they show the wide shot. I think it's like camera C. And they show the wide shot, and it just looks like he's over animated. And I'm like, whoa, LA Knight, did he have too much coffee? Like, what the fuck is LA Knight acting like a goof for, man, on his entrance? Like, that's going to get the fans to turn on you quickly. Sure enough, Upon further insight, zoom in a little bit. It's the fucking Miz. It's the Miz, and he's animated. He's doing the finger pointing. He's got the vest on. He's got the jeans tucked into the boots. It's, Miz was nailing it, man. And then he gets on the mic. So the Miz is literally impersonating LA Knight here. And the Miz is just complete gold. He's got the bass in his voice. In fact, he goes to speak and then he goes, let me get the bass in my voice so I can sound badass. He puts the bass in there. He says, let me talk to you. Yeah. What? Yeah. Let me talk to you. What? Yeah. Yeah. What? Let me talk to you. And he just starts going off. He just left field with a hockey stick, and BC was here for all of it, bro. It was some really good stuff. This dude was just... he was nailing it, man. Of course he was saying what, because a lot of the boys in the locker room, they truly feel like, okay, the yeah is just the new what, right? What? Yeah. So Miz is just obviously playing on that. And then every now and again, he'll break out with a, let me talk to ya. What? Yeah. Come on, bro. That pop BC. Let me get a swig of coffee, because I'm laughing just thinking back on it. Man, it was so good. I told you guys weeks ago, man, I said that Amplified Miz is actually really good. Like when Miz is not doing the comedy stuff or not just regurgitating company BS, like here's what we need you to sell, go out there and sell it. When he's just amplified, man, and he's just like, I don't get any respect around here, and I don't see where that's coming from, because I've done this, and this, and I cover X, Y, and Z, and I dot my I's, and I cross my T's, and still no respect. And when you get that passionate, amplified Miz, it's actually really good. The problem is we don't get that Miz on the actual shows. You get it on WWE.com usually, or something like that, The Bump, or whatever. So when you get Miz like this on TV, man, it resonates. Like, that's the amplified man. He was turning red last night. He was turning red, like like you believe. He's just pissed off. LA Knight, another dude coming in, getting all the praise, and all he's doing is what Stone Cold already laid down pathwise. And you guys know I'm high on LA Knight. And I'm not a big fan of them overexposing the fact that he has drawn upon The Rock and Stone Cold. I think if you do it too much, it could have an adverse effect. But, it fits here. As long as they don't keep doing this past the Miz story and feud. As long as they don't do anything like that. As long as it stays with the Miz and LA Knight, this won't hurt LA Knight, I don't feel. And it actually really helps this story. And this is what I mean. You don't have to move mountains to create a memorable moment, right? You don't have to have a cement truck or a beer truck or throw a championship off of a bridge into an ocean or put somebody on a casket and drive off with it or have a complete 3-cop car police brawl like Charlotte, Ronda, and them. Or just all of the wacky. You don't have to put you don't have to be stuck in a pit of snakes, a room full of snakes. You don't have to do all of that necessarily, man. Just have a memorable moment. I think we're all going to remember Miz impersonating L.A. Knight. He just nailed it, If it didn't work, if he just didn't nail it and it was just really bad, yeah, this could have went off the rails real quick. But the Miz nailed LA Knight, man. He was perfect. He got that shit. I thought it was LA Knight when he first came out. I love when WWE does that, man. Have a wrestler, you play the music, he comes out like he is. And if they can do it, it's actually fun. I remember Schnoz McGee. I thought, what was it? DX was trying to be... DX tried to be a lot of Nation of Dominate. They tried to be a lot of different groups, but Owen Hart, I forgot who they were trying to be, but Schnoz McGee was dressed up as Owen Hart, and he, Owen Hart has a specific nose, and Schnoz McGee has a specific nose. And so Schnoz was playing the role of Owen Hart. And I think Owen Hart actually ended up playing Schnoz McGee at one point as well, right? Return the favor. I don't know, but I thought that was pretty fun too. There's been a lot of those type of things. I remember when Shawn Michaels in Canada came out as a mini Bret Hart, guys. Bret Hart's music played. I think this was after maybe the Montreal screw job, so they knew Bret wasn't even in the company. Bret Hart's music plays. Shawn was in DX, I believe. And Shawn Michaels comes down. Or no, he had a mini. Shawn Michaels couldn't do it. They actually had a mini, like a little person, Bret Hart. And he comes out doing the hand thing, and he's got the glasses. And Canada was pissed. But I remember that shit, you know? So my point is, sometimes it's just little things, man. Just care. Like, how can we do this, and it's not just going to be another boring promo? Put a little bit of care into it. A little bit of time. That's all I ask. It's what I always loved about Bray Wyatt, man. Everything he did had care put into it. Everything Bray Wyatt did, there was a reason behind it. There was not one thing that Bray Wyatt did that didn't have meaning. Not one thing. I remember after the John Cena WrestleMania match, if you will, that a lot of people just didn't understand. And I remember Bray Wyatt said it. I forgot the exact quote, but Bray Wyatt was like, I'm sad to see that you guys missed so much. Oh well, maybe next time. And Bray Wyatt was basically saying, like, just open your horizons a little bit, man. Like, not everything is just in a box. Open it up. It's pro wrestling, man. You know, there's room for just about everything. You just got to get creative and do it, you know. And a lot of people today, they don't understand, you know, what? Everything is so structured, especially in WWE. Little things, man. Little things. The Miz last night on a 3-hour show was one of the spotlighted performances personified. It was one of the highlights of the night. There was only one other, aside from the Bray Wyatt tributes, obviously, which they started the show with the graphics, and then later on, speaking of Bray Wyatt, they had a good tribute where they redid the video package from Friday night, and then they had the rocking chair at the top of the ramp, and they played the Wyatt theme. It was good. We'll go over that a little bit more in detail. I think that was hour 2. So that's coming up, actually. But they did the Bray Wyatt thing, Terry Funk. So aside from the tributes, The Miz is the only one of 2 big highlights in the main event, guys, which we'll get to. Other than that, this show was seriously lacking creativity and any type of fun or care. Miz. It was absolutely, yeah, what? Let me talk to you. What? Yeah. What? Let me talk to you. Yeah. Miz once again nails it. Who would have thought? This is the second week in about a month or two. Just a month, or a few weeks ago is when we had amplified Miz on the microphone. Then last week it took a drastic step backwards. So twice in like 3 or 4 weeks that we're talking about the Miz as one of the highlights of Monday Night Raw. I guess that's a damn good thing, man. That shows us that the Miz can contribute. Change it up, man. We could actually care about the Miz. Start of hour number 2. Yes, this was the tribute video package for Bray Wyatt. So we got coffee. Bray Wyatt starts hour number 2, or at least the tribute. I wish Bray Wyatt was actually starting the hour. I'd take 3 hours of Monday. I told you guys when they did Firefly Funhouse, 60 seconds on a 3-hour show. I said, give me that for 3 hours and I'd be entertained. I said, give me Firefly Funhouse for 3 hours and the ratings will be through the roof. And we know that because Bray's 60-second Firefly Funhouse brought in the most numbers. Anyway, this was a tribute video package for Bray Wyatt. Same one from Friday night. Coming out of the tribute, we see the arena completely dark with fireflies scattered throughout the cell phones. A thank you Bray chant breaks out. Bray's original theme plays and we zoom in on an empty rocking chair. We fade to black and into commercial. Very well done. I wish we could have done more. I mean, of course we could have done. Bray was a supernatural character, so we can do so much, right? I like the lantern on Friday night. Love the rocking chair. You had a couple extra days coming off of SmackDown to do maybe another original thing. Bray deserves it. There's no question, right? This isn't just an average guy. This is Bray Wyatt, one of the top stars the industry has seen in over a decade, bare minimum. So I do feel like we should have done a little bit more on Monday Night Raw. Another supernatural element really bring out Bray Wyatt. But beggars can't be choosers. At least they did tribute him. But it was kind of just some of the same stuff from Friday night. Man, my creativity and just what you could have done with Bray, man, and having a couple of extra days, you could have done a lot of real cool stuff. But emotional video, even if it is the same one from Friday, I think I was able to comprehend that package more than Friday. Friday, we're still kind of numb to it, right? Last night, I actually got to really take it in. And man, so emotional. And the rocking chair, and then they fade to black. I mean, they really pull on the heartstrings there, man. And Terry Funk, a video package would play for Punk, not CM Punk. Oh my goodness, he's got his own. CM Punk's in his own issues over in AEW, man. He's got more than enough problems over there. This is a package for Terry Funk. That was later in the night. Same video package as Friday. So again, not a lot of effort being put in tribute-wise for Monday night. It's pretty much the same stuff from Friday night. Chad Gable would wrestle Ludwig Kaiser for 117 minutes. I mean, literally, this match just wouldn't end. Maybe it wasn't 117 minutes, but you get the point, right? And it wasn't even a bad match. I just didn't care about it. And this is proof that just having longer matches is not going to make these shows better. Paul Levesque McMahon best come up with a better game plan than that. And the finish was a run-in DQ, by the way, with Giovanni Vinci taking out Gable. So it took 116 minutes for us to get that last minute of a run-in. You could have done that 116 minutes ago then. If the match was just a run-in, 117-minute match. Again, that might be a slight exaggeration, but I'm sticking with 117 minutes. Giovanni Vinci takes out Gable. The match is thrown out as a DQ. Otis gets involved, then Gunther. It just made me think, at that moment, no joke, at that moment, I just thought, wow, I already miss Bray Wyatt beyond belief. Because I like Gable, I do, and Gunther I'm so high on, you know that. But like Gable and Kaiser for it was so long. I'm like, what am I doing? I just don't want to fucking watch this anymore. I don't care about this wrestling match. Oh, man. I don't know. I just need reasoning, you know? It's funny. Vince Russo, I forgot what it was, one of those Dark Side of the Rings, maybe it was, but Vince Russo was talking about like some of the booking for the Attitude Era, and it catches a lot of people by surprise. I don't think you guys realize there wasn't a lot of long matches back then. I think people think because the Attitude Era was so amazing and the viewership was through the roof that people thought, wow, we had longer matches back then, and if we just bring back long matches with great athleticism and treat it like a real sport, you know, we'll get all the numbers back. But Vince Russo says, no, they called it Crash TV, man. They tried to make everything kind of short. They just made it really captivating. They made you care. So in like 60-second, 2, 3, 4, 5-minute matches, you cared. And you needed to see what happens next week with those characters. You wanted to see the longer matches at the pay-per-view, and you were willing to pay 30, 40, 50, 60 bucks for that pay-per-view, right? Everything was working back then. Now you have longer matches, right? Paul Levesque McMahon is now more in control than ever. Not total, I get it. Vince is there as well in some form or facet most of the time. But it's Paul Levesque McMahon's show now. It just is. People don't want to hear that. But it is. You see Paul Levesque McMahon all over these shows. And these longer wrestling matches are proof of that. And you want to applaud that. Yay, longer wrestling matches. But it doesn't translate. It's boring if it's no reasoning behind it. If you just throw Wrestler A and Wrestler B out there to have a long 20, 25, 30-minute match with nothing on the line and no reasoning or purpose behind it, Nobody cares. You could be watching badminton. You could be watching golf. You could be watching tennis. Now, if you love that shit, maybe that's good for you. But it's like watching two people play checkers, and you don't know when it's going to end. You're watching checkers. You're not even playing. You're just watching people play. Longer wrestling matches, it doesn't necessarily equate. Attitude Era was just, it's called Crash TV, and they just had, it was on to the next, to the next, to the next. And by the end of the 3 hours, you were captivated. You had a cliffhanger. You could not wait till the next week. You had money in hand waiting for the pay-per-views. There was excitement. Now it's just like, Gable, Ludwig, you're penciled in for this right here. We're going to give you 28 minutes. Go do your thing. Go put on wrestling moves. Anyway, it's announced Gable versus Gunther next week on Raw for the IC title, not at Payback. I want to say that again. Not at Payback. Gunther versus Gable in a rematch. This one for the IC title, and it's going to be on Raw next week. They probably thought, well, shit, I don't think anybody's really going to care about Drew McIntyre and Matt Riddle versus the Vikings next week. So we got to up the ante. And then we end hour number 2 with a tribute to Bob Barker, the Price is Right host. And if you guys ever saw Adam Sandler's, speaking of golf, Happy Gilmore. You guys ever see Happy Gilmore? Adam Sandler plays this hockey player who just fights too much. He can't get a contract. And all of a sudden he finds out he can play golf. He hits the ball really far. So he goes into golf, and he's a hothead, and he's got a temper, and he takes out Bob Barker. Or no, Bob Barker, I think, beats him up. But there's one point where Sandler says, "Price is wrong, Bob." Boom, pops him. But I think Bob Barker ends up beating the shit out of him. Anyway, Bob was like 100 years old, or 99, about to be 100. He was born in 1923 and just passed away 2023. So 100 years of Bob Barker. He's in the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame, of course. So salute to him. But if you guys look, that's the entire hour 2. You talk about how much filler is here. Guys, even the highlights of hour 2 that I have noted, it's not even storyline progression, right? We started hour 2 with the video package for Bray Wyatt. Awesome. We ended hour 2 with a video package for Bob Barker. Awesome. The only thing of relevance, like storyline or actual wrestling capacity, was Chad Gable versus Ludwig. That was it in hour 2. 2 video packages and a Chad Gable Ludwig match. That was it. Everything else was filler or commercial. That's what I mean. That is a full hour, 1 of 3 for Monday Night Raw. Hour number 3, after a swig of coffee, Sethington Rollins. One sec. Sethington Rollins starts hour 3. We get another 117 minutes. This is not Ludwig versus Gable, though. This is 117 minutes of Seth's sing-along. I literally have to mute the TV because it was so nauseating. I don't know what it is about that damn song. I like Sethington. I do. Something about that sing-along is just numbingly nauseating. I can't put my finger on it. But listening and watching thousands of people not just sing it, but like do the damn like they're all like a conductor. I just feel like we're all just getting dumber as a society at that point. I don't know what it is. It feels like it's just like walking zombies. And I just don't want to be a part of that. So I literally just mute it and look away. Now, the cool thing here is I unmuted the volume just in time for Sethington to start off his promo. And he starts it off with, "Yowie wowie." Good deal. I love that. That's a good tribute right there, man. A good yowie wowie, man. I felt that was needed right there. A Shinsuke Nakamura video package would play on the Tron. Nakamura's training for his title match with Sethington for this Saturday at Payback. Speaking in Japanese with the subtitles. I love that. As you guys know, I've been calling for that for the longest time. If the English thing isn't quite working, he's just not picking up as quick and it just doesn't connect, then have him do his promos in Japanese. It's perfect. He's menacing with it. It's believable when he speaks straight Japanese, and just put the subtitles up there. Caption it up. It's fine. It's actually a cool thing. I don't mind if he's in the ring cutting a promo and we have subtitles. I don't care. Perfect. Let his opponent not have a clue what he's saying. Only we do at home because of the subtitles. You could do so much with that. I've been calling for that. I'm glad they're starting to do that. This will add some interesting layers if they keep this up, man. So, very well done. And then I'm like, just let it sit there. There's no reason to have this guy show up in the ring. And sure enough, WWE can't help themselves. So Nakamura hits the ring right behind Rollins, and he attacks him from behind. Maybe a Kinshasa was hit. Knocks Sethington out, and that's it. That's the end of the segment. And then Nakamura walks off. See, now you just diluted it, man. Just do the video package. Leave Seth kind of thinking like, damn, what the fuck? Saturday, I'm taking this guy out, and Nakamura is like, I'm going to break you once and for all, because he says he already broke his back. Like, he already left Seth hurting, and he's not informing people of how severe his injury is. But Seth knows it's true that Nakamura has injured him pretty damn badly. And then Saturday, he's going to break him once and for all. So, on Nakamura's part, very well done. You could have Sethington there like, damn, man, all right, Saturday, that's it. You're going to have to pay to see this. One of us is walking out. Instead, Nakamura shows up, flatlines. Why you got to pay the money now? Why do you got to see it Saturday? Nakamura's just dropping him. Obviously, Sethington is going to win Saturday. But let it breathe a little bit. So this company just wants to just fight nonstop. Fight. Go out there. Just fucking beat each other up. And that's the storyline. Anyway, that's it. He takes out Sethington. Segment ended. Literally. Seth's looking up at the lights and Nakamura walked off. Well, the problem is you just talked all this shit. You talked such a big game. What you gonna do when you see Sethington on Saturday? You saw him right there and you kicked him. Awesome. Tommaso Ciampa is up next. Heads down the aisle and he's attacked by Bronson Reed. We go to commercial. When we come back, we get these two in a sanctioned match, Ciampa versus Bronson. Now, Ciampa would end up pinning Bronson Reed with a botched, hold him down, Faroot roll-up. Like crucifix style, and that's Big Bronson. So it was supposed to look a lot better, I'm sure. He gets him in like one of those crucifix hold him down pins. I still consider that a roll-up because you're just holding an individual down. The problem with that is it's Bronson. Even if this went off perfectly, it was not going to be realistic. You're not holding down Bronson. No matter how much muscle Tommaso has, Tommaso is still less than half the size of Big Bronson Reed. So here you have Bronson with a T. That's right. That's how we call it. And by the way, BC first started calling him Big Bronson Reed, so I apologize. Obviously, people in that company watch the channel and they know damn well they're like, I like that, Big Bronson Reed. So I'll take the blame for that. That's all right. I'll take the L. But I'll still call him Bronson at least with a T. So Bronson Reed is going to get pinned by a dude less than half his size. That's not real. He can't get his shoulder just a centimeter off the mat. Come on. So even a crucifix, hold him down, roll up is not realistic. So if you botch it, forget about it. Let's just hope they don't botch it. Well, that didn't happen. They completely botched it. It was so bad, guys. Once it was botched, Tommaso decided to just lay on him, in fact, because he couldn't even stick with the crucifix at that point. He couldn't stick with it. He kind of like slipped off of him. So then he like held down one arm, but then laid on him. So Bronson's entire left arm and shoulder was totally free because Tommaso decided to just lay on him. If you look at Reed's face while he's being pinned, Reed is like, what are we doing? Poor Bronson's like, shouldn't we audible? Like, are you really going to pin me like that? Like his eyes are wide open. He's not even like trying to kick out, acting like he's trying to kick. He's just like laying there like, I'm hoping this is not the actual finish. because we botched it. Sure enough, the ref just counts. He never puts his left shoulder up, so of course the ref is going to count. Again, maybe it wouldn't have been as bad if Reed wasn't so enormous, but he is enormous. Therefore, this botch was enormous. You gotta feel bad for Tommaso. This dude just can't catch a break. He comes up, Vince McMahon puts him in a fucking construction worker's vest, those neon green vests so you see him coming, and you can drive slowly by them. He puts him in a construction vest. And then when Paul Levesque McMahon gets a hold of him, and Paul Levesque McMahon gets to fucking give him his first name back, and he doesn't know what to do with him. Paul Levesque McMahon's a different beast, right? That's why I say this is not black and gold anymore. Paul Levesque McMahon does not know what to do with the main roster. It's sad, but he just doesn't. And even his boys and gals, he doesn't know how to book these people. Look at how many NXT talents. Paul Levesque McMahon is clueless. And that's not shade. It's just the fact. I mean, look at Tommaso. He has random matches. And then last week, he has a video package, right? He's cutting one of those good vignette promos. It's almost like one of those introductions, like Tommaso coming soon, right? It was a good package last week. 7 days later, he's already wrestling a weird, nonsensical match with Bronson Reed. Nobody really wins here, by the way. Even if you win the match, the person you just beat, they can't afford an L. Bronson can't take an L here. Tommaso shouldn't be taking an L. It's a nonsensical match. Nobody wins here. It's 50-50 booking. I wouldn't be surprised if you see the same two individuals next week, and all of a sudden Bronson picks up a W. And we know this because we've already seen this match in the past anyway. So, I mean, Tommaso's just in flux. I mean, eventually, Paul Levesque McMahon's going to have to realize you're going to have to give this individual a real storyline. You're going to have to get creative. If you truly believe in Tommaso, then you got to hit the pavement with this. But he can't catch a break, man. They put him in a construction neon vest. Then he gets injured for nearly a whole freaking year. He's gone. Then he comes back. They don't know what they're doing. Video package after he already comes back. Then he's in weird matches. Then he's botching the finish with Bronson. Again, I'm not saying who, but I don't even know who botched it. It was just, they tried to do something wild with a really big dude like Bronson, and it went off the rails. And then they decided not to audible. That's bad. You got to remember how big Bronson is. You can't just lay on him and expect that to be a pinfall. An audible should have been called. These are tried and true professionals. I think Bronson knew it. If you look at Bronson's eyes, man, wide open, like, well, you're just laying on me, man. Man, I don't know. But then you're talking time restraints. Then you piss off Paul Levesque McMahon and production because you took an extra 30 seconds. Man, just a really bad botch there. Nobody's going to believe that. He just laid on Bronson, and that's the pin. Anyway, next up, Tiffany Stratton is shown in the crowd to hype up NXT's Fatal 4-Way to declare and decide her number one contender. In that Fatal 4-Way later tonight on NXT, it's Roxy, Blair, Kiana, and Gigi, I believe. Those are the four participants. The winner of that will take on Tiffany Stratton. Now, this was going to go into soon. First, it was a Rhea Ripley segment. And then we were going into the main event, and they would show Tiffany Stratton again during the Becky Lynch Zoey Stark main event. Now, if you guys caught NXT last week or you heard what happened, Tiffany Stratton was running down a list of former NXT champions. She accidentally named Becky Lynch. The problem is Becky Lynch never held the NXT championship for the women. So that pretty much created a firestorm on the social doohickey machine. They actually gave because this was a live NXT last week, they gave Tiffany another minute later in the show to clarify. So that was pretty cool. So they actually had Tiffany out there as if she was going to do something with Becky. Because when she clarified that she made a mistake and that Becky was never champ, she also said, now let's move on because I don't have any time for somebody like Becky Lynch, right? And then that created a buzz like, oh, Becky versus Tiffany, is that the seeds planted? So WWE is like, all right, we can get two birds with one stone here. Let's bring in Tiffany, we'll promote NXT, and we'll create a little suspense like maybe she's working with Trish and Zoe. No harm, no foul. She did not end up getting involved, nor should she be. But I see what they were doing there. Pretty cool. Good to see Tiffany. I'm high on Tiffany. I really am. Booking in NXT, from what I'm hearing, could be better. But she's got the title, and if they just give her some care, Tiffany Stratton is really good. And unlike some people like Charlie Flair and others, man, her moonsault connects. Tiffany versus Io, Battle of the Moonsaults, man. Both of those are so damn good. Anyway, Tiffany Stratton's in the crowd. Rhea Ripley's in the ring, cutting a promo on Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel ends up hitting the ring, takes out Ripley. I don't know, I almost called her Riley. Rhea Riley. Rhea Ripley. You know, I've been saying it all review. This is what WWE is. Just go out there and just fight. Go out there and just brawl. Go out there and just have the same match you've been having, right? That's their answer for everything. Rhea, say some words. Middle of the ring. Raquel, wait for your cue. Ready, go. Raquel hits the ring. They fight a little bit, and that's that. I mean, how many times can you do that on a 3-hour show? That's the problem, guys, right? That's what we're saying. We're not trying to nitpick. It's just this needs to be corrected so that we can have a better, more pleasurable time watching this show, and it's better for the characters involved, which equates to a better company. Because everybody's rocking on all cylinders. But when it's the same redundancy, you know, there's no shock that the ratings are going in the downward trajectory. Now, they'll go up, obviously, from last week, because you can't go, there's no Monday Night Football of relevancy, so you have a 1-5 last week. I would hope you're going back on a go-home show to Payback. I would hope you're at least back up to a 1-7 plus, especially because people still want to see what's up with Bray Wyatt, how they're going to tribute him and Terry Funk. So, you know, don't be shocked if it's even more. Maybe they do get back to 1-8, 1-9. Who knows? You know, there's a lot of factors at play. I don't expect them to be back in the 1-5, so. But you keep doing things like this, with or without football, you'll be below 1.5. Because there's nothing to talk, there's nothing here, guys. Ripley said some words. You'll never remember a damn word. Like, at least, Miz, you're going to remember that promo. Rhea Ripley comes, I don't know what she said about Raquel, nor do I care. It's the same shit she's been saying for a month. And then Raquel just comes out to do the same thing she's been doing for a month, even injured, beat up Ripley. The best part of this was Wade Barrett calling Rodriguez Raquel Gonzalez when talking about the Payback match. And he says, Rhea Ripley will take on Raquel Gonzalez. And I'm like, whoa, there's a name I haven't heard in a long time. For those of you that are wondering, that was her name in NXT. And then it got switched up to Raquel Rodriguez. So that was the best part for me, Wade Barrett. Yeah, I was expecting Michael Cole to just correct him. They were just kind of trying to throw it under the rug. And then it was time, finally, some positive. Okay, I had the Miz, the Bray Wyatt tribute, and finally I can talk about a third positive in this 3-hour show. Let me get a swig of coffee. We're going to talk main event. This was Becky Lynch versus Zoey Stark. Now, to set this up for you guys, man, Trish Stratus will be taking on Becky Lynch this Saturday night at Payback. Yes, I think it's this Saturday night. Payback. It's going to be in a steel cage match. So beforehand, they set up Zoey Stark versus Becky Lynch for the Monday Night Raw main event in a no-holds-barred Falls Count Anywhere match. Falls Count Anywhere. Now, they gave them 20 minutes here, guys. They gave them 20 minutes. Again, longer matches don't necessarily equate to a better product, right? Some people care about this whole Trish-Becky thing like BC. I think it's been pretty damn good. I love Trish's heel work, and I think Becky's been pretty damn good. Becky really is just done with it. She's done with Trish, done with Zoey. She knows she has a big task at hand, but she wants to get it done. She's pissed off they got removed from SummerSlam. She's out with the lemonade the day after SummerSlam, or 2 days later on Monday Night Raw. She's got the lemon shirt a week after that. So she's showing you her frustration. That added layers to this. BC did not mind this whole Trish-Becky thing. But I also know a lot of you guys, you did not care at all about this Becky-Trish thing. You just wanted it over. I understand, man. To each their own. But Trish's heel work was pretty spot on. Becky can only do so much with what she's presented. I think they knocked it out of the park with what they were dealt. And this match right here, whether you liked this whole story or feud throughout the summer or not, they gave them 20 minutes and they didn't waste any of them. This ended up, and it just got better as the match went on. A badass suplex onto a pile of chairs. I'm like, there was a pile of chairs, and Becky looks back, and I'm like, is she really going to suplex Zoey on that pile? Because you got to get, everyone just praises Becky Lynch, but this is a rookie to the main roster. Zoey Stark is still so damn new. There's still so much Zoey is going to find out and learn and have to work through. And she's up there on the top rope about to take a suplex onto a pile of chairs. Good for her, man. And that was just the beginning of it. That suplex on the pile of chairs, man. On the outside, later in this match, Trish Stratus is involved. They're up on like the commentary table or the barricade, something like that. And Trish Stratus does her bulldog to Becky Lynch through a table into the crowd. So there's tables set up, a bunch of paperwork, it looks like it's supposed to be for production. Obviously, it's planted there. But it was well done. And Trish just catapults Becky Lynch, launches Becky Lynch into a bulldog through the table. And I gotta get Becky, if you go back and you watch Becky sell this, it looks like she's diving into a pool. Her hands are straight out and she's just ready to rock. Becky's just like, let's do this, bitch. Trish is like, we're going for a ride. It was so well done, man. A great bulldog through the table. That got the crowd popping. And that wouldn't be it. It was a table explosion after that, man. They fight into the crowd. Now there's a platform right before you get to the first layer of the upper decks, right? So it's all the floor, and then you get to the first level of actually deck seating. So right there's the platform. The very end of the floor seating. Big platform. There's tables all over the place. And it is here that Zoey inadvertently, accidentally hits Trish Stratus through a table off of a platform. Trish Stratus, at her age, a mom, a straight-up MILF. And she's taking table spots like that, bro. Mad props to Trish. Salute. Trish Stratus gets catapulted from Zoey through a table. Moments later, and I mean moments, Bex hits Zoey with a manhandle slam through another table on the opposite side of the platform. Tables were just exploding left and right, man. Bulldogs, fucking catapults, manhandle slams, all through tables. Zoey was not able to make the count after that manhandle slam, which were all vicious shots, by the way. They didn't just fucking tap it in, right? Happy Gilmore with the ball just not going in the hole, and Adam Sandler's pissed off. Tap it in. Just tap it in, right? Go home. Go in the hole. If you don't know Happy Gilmore, you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But just tap it in, right? Some of these table shots, these wrestlers don't want to really take the bump too hard, right? They're just going to place each other through the table. It's just a little thin piece of wood anyway. Sometimes a wrestler lays on it to take a move and the table breaks before the move is even performed. No, Becky and Zoey and Trish last night, they're like, we're here to rock. Let's go. Let's do this. Becky wins this match. Afterwards, an emotional Becky Lynch, man. I don't know if it was already on her arm or she got it, but she had a Bray Wyatt wristband, armband that a lot of the wrestlers were wearing last night. New Day was wearing them. Vikings were wearing them. A lot of individuals wearing these armbands, just like Friday. And Becky just holds it up. It was such a great moment, right? It's a great visual. The camera picked it up. You saw most of Bray, too. At least R-A-Y. You at least saw Ray, and you knew it wasn't Rey Mysterio, so relax. It was Bray Wyatt armband, and she's holding it up, and you see the name. And she's in tears, guys. She's absolutely in tears because she knows she just went through a war with Zoey and Trish. And they just lost one of their brothers. And she's main eventing Raw. And I think, there's no think. I talk to a lot of these wrestlers. And I'm telling you right now, they know when they nailed it. They know when they knocked it out of the park. And they know when they just it didn't land. And they're their own worst critics. Trust me, they'll beat themselves up sometimes if they know they just could have done better. or it should have been better. But when they crush it out of the park, and I tell you guys all the time, I have so many friends on the independent scene. They travel the world. I've been in those locker rooms. I've been in that ring. And I'm telling you right now, man, these individuals, they know when they nailed it. And that was just so much emotion. It was losing Bray Wyatt. It was being in the main event and knowing that you just crushed it. And tears were just running down her face. She hoists up that Bray Wyatt armband. We fade off to black, and we go off the air Monday Night Raw for 8/28/23. What a main event! When you have week after week after week after week after week after week after week and so on of Judgment Day and Sami and Owens in some form or facet, and that's with Owens injured for like a month, by the way, and every week it was something to do with it was. When you have the same main event and it just seems like Groundhog Day, and by the end of the Raw, you're like, what am I even doing, man? This show is that bad and regurgitated and redundant. And then you get a main event like that, and it's with the ladies, which here in the state, they don't get a lot of love, and it's sad because women's wrestling today is absolutely, it should be anyway, the best it's ever been easily. The talent, from Athena, Ember Moon, to Trinity, Fatu, Naomi, to Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks, to Io Shirai, Io Sky, to Bianca, to even Britt Baker. It doesn't have to be just move for move, such a technical sound wrestler to a T, or an aerial assault masterpiece. No, it's everything. Do they check off every box, man? There's so many females. I mean, you just look at the Impact roster or NXT's roster of females. Man, so much talent. And they just, it doesn't work. You know, they don't get proper care, proper attention, proper booking from the promoters, the companies. So then when they're out there, their ratings aren't that good. So then the promoters are like, we can't put them out there in certain positions because the ratings drop. So then it's a vicious cycle. The promoters don't want to really give them the time, but because of that, nobody still cares about them. In fact, they care about them even less. It's a vicious cycle. So to have the ladies go out there, give them the time, and they go and do the deed like they did last night. That was a main event worthy match. But more than that, it was actually fun, captivating, entertaining. And I wouldn't mind them running it back in the future. And that is not just Becky Lynch. That is a rookie to the main roster. Zoey Stark is her name. If you didn't know or you didn't care, now you know, and I hope you do in the future. Zoey Stark is a main player, man. She went and she did the deed. And I really do, that some respect is put on Trish Stratus' name going forward. And in case you forgot who Becky Lynch was, you were reminded last night. I've never been a big Becky Lynch fan. I always admit that. I've never been a big Becky Lynch fan. Still not a big Becky Lynch fan at all. But I respect Becky Lynch and her passion in a lot of her matches. And last night was one of them. And it's that type of performances, those type, and that passion, that amplification, that could get BC behind you big time. Who knows? Down the line, I may be one of Becky's biggest supporters. That's one of those things. You earn that over time. And, she's just better suited for matches like this. I remember her and Sasha Banks. What was that? Hell in a Cell, I believe. And they just tore it up. It was just perfect. That whole story and feud going into Hell in a Cell. The match itself. Some of Becky's best matches with Charlie Flair is when they were literally just beating the shit out of each other in matches like this. Kind of Falls Count Anywhere, No Holds Barred, those type of matches. No DQ. Becky she's badass. So maybe this is the booking for her. Don't just confine her with just wrestling matches, right? You guys remember when Becky Lynch really took over the wrestling world? You guys remember that was when she was badass. The visual of her busted open after Jax actually laid her out. And beating the shit out of Charlie Flair with the kendo sticks and the chairs because she just had enough. That's when everybody was like, damn, this girl's badass. Why go away from that? You saw again last night what works with Becky. Zoey Stark was introduced to the world last night. That was her calling card. And the world also remembered just to know who the hell Trish Stratus is. I love that main event. That's a lot of time spent on it. But I just had to speak so positively. Because so many people go, Beasley, you're so negative, man. Give me something positive and I can talk about it. If you don't give me something positive, I can't talk about it. Doesn't matter how much coffee I have. I could have 2, 3, 10 coffees at once and it ain't going to matter. I can't talk about any positive. You got to give me the positive, right? Give me just a little something and then I can work with that. I can take a little positive and I'll talk 27 minutes about it, but you got to give me just a little nugget of positivity. I can't just create positivity out my fucking ass. I don't wake up and the fucking clouds start shitting positivity. You got to give me a little something so I can work with it. You know, you can call me an asshole or I'm so negative and all that. That's fine. I don't care about all that. But if you truly want me to be more positive, you got to give me something to work with. You can't just give me Judgment Day Sammy KO every single week. Or just throw some manufactured supposed story like Vikings, Drew, and Riddle, and New Day in some weird trio thing. You can't just throw that out there every week with no purpose. And say, BC, I don't know why you're not so excited about this. Doesn't work that way. This main event landed. I'm so proud of Becky Lynch and Zoey Stark and Trish Stratus. They were given the ball last night, and they absolutely knocked that son of a bitch so far out of the park, Grand Slam fashion, that they can't even find the ball. And before we take off, a big salute to Amplified Unit Gold Card channel member, WWE AEW Marvel fan, for those coffees in yesterday's podcast. A big super thanks, super chat in yesterday's podcast. WWE AEW Marvel fan. I appreciate it, dude. Never needed, always appreciated. And I could not agree more on your thoughts on Paul Levesque McMahon and the whole brand split, or lack thereof, and your words on Philip CM Punk Brooks. So I appreciate the coffees, and I appreciate those words, man. More than anything, I appreciate your support, man. Gold channel member, WWE AEW Marvel fan. Appreciate the coffees, man. Guys, that's it. Until next time, and there will be a next time. Payback coming up. All Out's coming up. And a big fall planned for both promotions. You have, in November, guys, early November, WWE's next big Saudi event. Then on the 18th, AEW's Full Year. Then a week later, Survivor Series. And then, of course, next week, or this upcoming week, you have Payback and All Out. I mean, they're stuffing a lot this fall, so there's a lot of content coming up. Make sure you're subbed up. Make sure you're notified up. Make sure you're smashing those ups. Much love and respect always. Until next time, there will be that next time. Top guy, I'm out. BC saying, check you. Peace.